Society has spent decades trying to convince you that there is something wrong with you. They call you antisocial, lonely, or even weird just because you don't feel the need to be surrounded by people 24/7. But what if I told you that your preference for solitude isn't a social flaw? What if it's actually a biological signal that you possess a rare set of personality traits that most people spend their entire lives trying to develop? In a world that literally cannot stop talking, the person who chooses to stay quiet is often the most dangerous person in the room. Why? Because you aren't playing the same game as everyone else. If you're the type of person who would rather have a deep conversation with one person, or even just a book, than stand in a crowded room of strangers, listen very closely. You have 6 special personality traits that set you apart from the social noise. And the 6th one? It's the reason why people are secretly intimidated by you, even when you haven't said a word. Let's start with the first trait. Your time is a currency, and you refuse to spend it on cheap interactions. Most people are terrified of their own company. They use social media and surface-level parties as a drug to numb the silence. But you? You understand that time is the only resource you can't earn back. When you choose to be alone, you aren't doing nothing. You are investing your time in yourself. This makes you incredibly selective. If you choose to spend time with someone, it's not because you need to, it's because you find them genuinely valuable. That makes your presence one of the highest compliments a person can receive. This leads directly into the second trait. You possess emotional self-sufficiency. Most people are like social parasites. They need the validation and energy of others just to feel okay. If they don't get a like, a compliment, or an invite, their self-esteem crashes. You are different. You've built an internal power plant. You don't look for a mirror in other people to see your own worth. You know who you are in the dark, which means you can't be manipulated by the opinions of people who don't even know themselves. The third trait is something very few people talk about. Your boundaries are made of steel. Because you don't fear being alone, you have the ultimate leverage in any relationship. You aren't afraid to say no. Most people say yes to things they hate just because they're afraid of being excluded. But because you're perfectly happy in your own company, you have the power to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. You don't tolerate drama, you don't tolerate fake friends, and you don't tolerate disrespect. You'd rather be alone than be in bad company. That is a level of freedom most people will never experience. Now, the fourth trait is where things get deep. You have an analytical mirror. When you spend a lot of time alone, you aren't just thinking about the world. You are thinking about your own thoughts. This is called metacognition. You are hyper-aware of your own flaws, your triggers, and your strengths. While others are running from their shadows, you've sat down and had dinner with yours. This makes you incredibly difficult to lie to. When someone tries to gaslight you or manipulate you, it doesn't work. Why? Because you know your own truth so well that no one can replace it with their version of reality. The fifth trait is intellectual autonomy. In psychology, there is a phenomenon called groupthink. When people are constantly in groups, they start thinking the same, talking the same, and liking the same things. Their brains literally sync up to avoid conflict. But because you spend time away from the herd, your mind stays sharp and independent. You develop original ideas. You see the patterns that everyone else misses because they're too busy nodding their heads in agreement. You aren't a rebel for the sake of being a rebel. You're a rebel because your brain hasn't been programmed by the crowd. Finally, we reach the sixth trait, the one that makes you a social apex. It's your high-level intuition. Because you spend so much time observing rather than participating, you've developed a sixth sense for people. You can walk into a room and instantly feel the tension between two people. You can hear the lie in a person's tone before they even finish their sentence. You see the mask people wear because you don't wear one yourself. People who prefer to be alone aren't missing out on the world. They are seeing the world for what it actually is without the filter of social performance. You aren't lonely, you are focused. You aren't antisocial, you are socially selective. But there is a trap. Having these traits is a superpower, but if you don't know how to balance your solitude, it can become your prison. There is a very thin line between being the powerful observer and becoming the isolated ghost. If you want to know how to use your preference for solitude to actually dominate in your career and your relationships, you need to understand the concept of the strategic reemergence.
because the only thing more powerful than someone who can be alone is someone who knows exactly when to come out of the shadows. But that's a secret for the next video. For now, look at the people around you. Notice who's talking, and notice who's watching. Now you know which one you are. Don't let the world tell you to come out of your shell. The shell isn't there to protect you from the world. It's there to protect your vision while you build something the world isn't ready for yet. Stay quiet, stay sharp, and most importantly, stay true to the silence.